Kuwait, a tiny Middle Eastern country with less than 1.5 million citizens. Situated on the border of Saudi Arabia and Iraq, it's one of the smallest countries in the Middle East. It sits on the second largest oil fields in the world. And it was in 1990 when scores of Iraqi tanks crossed the Kuwaiti border, seizing control of this country and taking possession of their oil fields. And after 8 months of occupation, the Iraqi army was expelled by U.S. forces, leaving the country deeply damaged and their oil fields burning in their wake. Fearing another attack, the country halted development for 15 years. What we're trying to do now is keep the boom inside the perimeter of the walls. It's a kind of unruly device, and it's all the way boomed out from there, so every little inch he moves it, the thing pushes back. You can feel the concrete pushing this thing back and forth. And the issue is if it busts out, we'll be pouring concrete either inside the tower or worse yet, over the edge. Here it comes. The pump is primed, the tube is connected, and we are now flowing. 6,000 PSI concrete is coming up over 1,200 feet in the air to fill this twisted flare wall. The notion that anyone is actually listening to anyone blew my mind. What is going on here? Is anyone listening to anyone right now? Well, are you understanding? Because he's yelling at you and you're yelling at him. It's an amazing manic process, right? It's all about speed. As the concrete gets pumped into the formwork, there's a man behind them vibrating the concrete, aerating it, getting the bubbles out. And all this has to get done before the next concrete truck arrives. With the first truck empty, they have 2 more to go in order to complete this 15-foot section of the flare wall.
Hold it, hold it, hold it.
In 7 weeks, this amazing twisting wall will be finished.
Okay.
The Al Hamra Tower will be unlike any other skyscraper ever built. And its most unique feature is, without a doubt, these incredible twisting flared walls. And enveloped in this shape is one of the most unique and challenging tops to a skyscraper. This crown will be a sweeping single floor that climbs 200 feet as it wraps around the building. Clad in floor-to-ceiling glass, it'll provide diners unobstructed views of the Persian Gulf and Kuwaiti skyline. But topping the building with this complex geometric space will take 6 months to complete. What happens with the crown?
The structure on top of the 77th floor is completely different from anything that we have underneath. We're talking about 60 or 70 meters height, which is equivalent typically to a 17-story building, probably.
So you're putting a brand new, almost 17-story building on top of your existing office building.
Exactly.
And the crew has reached a major milestone in the process: construction of the final floor, which will support this 17-story crown. In order to build the final floor on what will be one of the tallest buildings in the world, you got to have some very tall scaffolding, which starts with pipes like these that connect to poles like these, which all together come to make this. Over 30-plus feet of scaffolding that will help them build the 77th and final floor of the Al Hamra Tower. Yeah, oh yeah, we're getting there too? Oh yeah, you got the crown. Someone downtown. Good, good. Great. I have done this before, fellas. What we're doing right now is we're building scaffolding, right? And the scaffolding is not to hold up people, but rather to hold up a slab. Above me, about 25 more feet, will be the next floor, actually the final floor of the entire building. This basically is an erector set, right? This one first. Take the steel pipe, make the frame, put down the wood, go higher and higher. To support the final floor and crown above it, they'll need 40 miles of scaffolding. Look out! Once in place, it'll hold 1,300 tons of formwork and concrete. Let's do it, come on, let's go! Let's go, boys! Let's go! Over here, we'll start over here, yeah. Now we'll go over there. Key in the hole, and now lock it up, huh? And this is no ordinary floor. While all the previous levels are private office spaces, this one will be one of the few areas open to the public, delivering spectacular views of the city.
All right.
Look at that. This is craziness.
Mr. Denny, now you are a complete reader.
Thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
The scaffolding is at its final height. This is the 77th floor, the very final floor in the entire tower. From here, another 160 feet to go to create what will soon be the tallest tower in all of Kuwait. Coming up, building the largest stone-clad facade in the world, 1,000 feet in the air. Well, yeah, you're praying for me? That's always an encouraging sign. Kuwait's Al Hamra Tower is the world's first ever desert skyscraper. Unlike any tower on Earth, its shape was truly inspired by its environment. Most all famous skyscrapers have the same facade on all four sides, which is odd considering that we have four very different orientations, right? The south light is different from the east light, which is different from the north light. Here at Al Hamra, you have one of the only skyscrapers that has a different facade for all four solar conditions. Al Hamra faces the Persian Gulf to the north and the desert to the south. The architects set out to maximize views, but protect tenants from the brutal Kuwaiti sun that reaches temperatures of 120 degrees in the summer. And as I'm coming from one side of Kuwait and I look at the tower on the north side, I see a tight glass building. And then from the south side, I see this radically different shifting concrete face. Why is the building doing that?
You have to come up with something that is inherent to the building, that responds to Kuwait, to the climate here.
And this whole incredible south side is actually one elaborate solar shade.
That's true, and it's also a great structural diaphragm that ties the building all together.
This isn't just about real estate.
No, it's not. It's more than that. It's architecture.
And to create the shape, they considered not only the location of the sun, but also its path. The amazing twisting shape of the Al Hamra Tower is actually formed by a process of subtraction. Now, what do I mean? Imagine that tower is one solid rectangle extruded for over 1,400 feet. Then, on each and every floor, remove 25% of the floor plane. But the piece you remove corresponds to the movement of the sun. East in the morning, west in the afternoon. So when you put that all together, you get that. One incredible carved tower whose walls actually act as enormous sunshades. And with an innovative choice of building material, they're adding an additional layer of armor to the building. So at Al Hamra, they're doing something really unique. They've decided to cover the entire south side of the building in this thick concrete. And on top of that, they're covering this concrete with 16,000 limestone panels that not just block the sun, but absorb that solar radiation. Limestone is an effective building material in the Middle East. It can sustain dramatic shifts in temperature without cracking. The panels that'll cover the south wall are massive, measuring 4 inches thick and weighing over 200 pounds. Now that the stone is over here, we have to get it on the outside of the building. So here, as you can see, is a stone panel. We're going to attach it to a chain block, pick it up, and actually put it onto the facade of the tower. Okay, you ready? Nice and tight. And you can imagine what would happen when the southern sun hits this stone. It literally absorbs that solar radiation and keeps the entire inside of the building cool all day. It's not just the stone, but the configuration of the windows that protect the building from the sun. Their staggered pattern and angle design block direct light and reduce the exposure of the sun. Okay, start coming down. While the frame on which you're hanging the stone panels, it's important to keep the stones vertical, but also horizontally lined up as well.
Yeah, for the vertical gaps, it should maintain all together coming in the same line, 10 milli.
10 millimeter gap between every panel, running all along the south facade, all the way up the building.
Correct.
This gap allows for heat expansion, so the panels don't collide and buckle in extreme temperatures. There she is. So now that the piece is more or less in place, the sort of fussy adjustments begin. A millimeter here, a millimeter there, to make sure this piece lines up with this piece, the piece below it, and maintains that perfect 10 millimeter gap from here all the way up 1,350 feet in the air. The plan originally called for the flared walls to be covered in limestone as well, but their twisting shape presented a problem. Had they taken a regular piece of limestone and tried to apply to this curve, it wouldn't have fit, because limestone wants to go on a flat surface, and this thing is twisting. To maintain the seamless, monolithic look architects wanted, builders proposed a material never used on a skyscraper. The solution was something really amazing called truncatus, which is essentially a piece of limestone, 1 inch thick, shattered and made into a series of small shards. Those individual shards then glued to this mesh. What's great about it is, number one, it's 1/5 the weight of that big chunk of limestone, but even more importantly, look what it can do. I can bend this mesh in pretty much any direction I want. The challenge, however, is getting this piece of truncatus onto a concrete wall all the way up there. To perform one of the highest tiling jobs ever attempted means taking a precarious trip. Because unlike the south wall, whose windows provide easy access to installers, the opaque flared walls have no access. All the way perched on top of the skyscraper, kicked out over the edge is a tower crane. And from the tower crane is a cable. And that cable has reached me, and more importantly, this bucket. And this is my chariot ride up. All right, fellas. Oh, that's fast. Just hanging in a bucket. 3 of my buddies.
Yeah.
I got Walid to my left. I have Batman.
Yeah.
And Robin. This is it. This is the team. They're the Cape Crusaders. We fight crime, but instead of crime, what we do is we go to buildings and we apply stone. It's similar to what the Super Friends used to do, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. The Super Friends. We're getting high now. Oh, yeah, you're praying for me? That's always an encouraging sign. We're only halfway to our final destination. That gondola perched over 1,000 feet in the air. Of all the times I've heard "don't look down," this is the one that I'm really being serious about. When you look down, you're going to see the geometry of this wall just twist away into nothing. Your stomach goes, and that's not the only thing that goes like that. The crane is now sliding us against the building. Are we going too quickly? Almost there. Almost there. Okay, I'm gonna break the cardinal rule of safety. I'm gonna climb out of my bucket and now into the gondola. Okay. There are 28 truncatus teams that cover 2,200 square feet per day. It'll take them 5 months to cover both twisting walls. Okay, so here is the flare wall.
Yes.
This is the most twisting part of the wall.
Yes.
And here we must put the truncatus.
Yes. So once this mixture is ready, we have notch trowel.
Yeah.
This check whether the thickness is coming this much. Apply total area, then we have to fix it.
So do you want to make
Fix
sure?
it and damp it.
So you want to confirm that we have the right depth of the adhesive?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. It'll take us like 15 years to cover this facade. This is basically like extreme bathroom tiling.
Yeah, very good.
Very nice. Oh, too much. I know there's a lot of guys who do great tile work out there, probably horrified right now, but given the circumstances, I apologize. Imagine for a minute if this were one solid inch-thick tile of limestone, right? It'd be ridiculously heavy and actually pull on the facade of the building. So what makes these so great is that they're nimble and they're really light. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Had the flare walls been covered with 4-inch limestone, their load would be about 2,500 tons. But with this innovative solution, their total weight is reduced to under 500 tons, or 1/5 of the weight. Is it good?
Yeah, it's good.
To really illustrate just how much of a craft hand-based process this is, look at this. In this one instance, this one tile is overlapping this piece and doesn't quite fit. So what do? They have a hand stone cutter, crack the mosaic, and then make it fit. That's incredible. This is what it takes to make the world's tallest stone-clad building ever attempted. And to finish it, We're gonna cover not just this panel right here or that panel there, but the entire south side of the building, over 38,000 feet, over 1,300 feet in the air, and the whole thing made safe and done properly by Batman right here. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, welcome.
Look good?
Good.
You happy?
Yeah.
All right. Coming up, installing 20 tons of steel. It's coming around, it's coming around. To build one of the world's highest restaurants. Back in the 1950s, Kuwait City was the epicenter of Middle Eastern culture and development. But for nearly the past 2 decades, fear of political unrest in the area left the Kuwaiti skyline unchanged. So after the Iraqi invasion, there was almost a 15-year window. No one would build a building like this because there was the concern that you'd be invaded, it could be destroyed.
Of course. That was a fear that was always inside of us. It's a risk of putting your money in a place where it can be taken away from you.
Now, with stability returning, money is pouring in. And 55 high-rise towers have risen in the past 5 years alone. Towering above them all, the 1,350-foot Alhambra. From the moment people set foot in the building, designers set out to capture Kuwait's rebirth. So as I walk into the building for the very first time, this is what I'm going to be seeing.
This is the space that you'll see, and everything that you see in this lobby is going to be exposed. None of this is going to be hidden. All of this kind of delicate, intricate structure is going to be the experience that you'll have in this building when it's finished.
The way in which this lobby was designed really demonstrates how this project is a marriage between architecture and engineering. If you imagine, the perimeter of this building, the footprint of the tower, actually happens right along this line here. And as the columns from above transfer down, you'd see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns right here. The issue is, when the owner saw the design for this lobby, he didn't think the space was sufficiently grand enough to become a proper front door to such an important skyscraper. To solve that, the architects literally pushed these 5 columns over 25 feet outside of the building, creating this amazing over 4-story cathedral-like space. The problem is, these sweeping columns are now over 40 feet tall, incredibly slender and curving, therefore vulnerable to possibly buckling. To fix that issue, the engineers invented something called a lamella. It's a 4-part structural system, beginning with the primary columns that travel down from the top of the tower down into the foundation. The second aspect sweeps back into the elevator core. The third part curves sideways, connecting column to column. And the fourth part is that amazing, intricate lattice work that ties the whole system together. Distributing the weight of the tower allows Alhambra to meet the ground with this unprecedented open lobby. And 1,200 feet above, the tower meets the sky with another amazing open space. A skyscraper top different from almost any in the world. Almost every single super tall skyscraper in the world meets the sky with a spire. Empire State Building, Sears Tower, Burj Dubai, Petronas Towers, all of them. But here at Alhambra, they're going to do something a little bit different. Rather than give the best real estate to a TV antenna, they're going to reserve it for one 170-foot tall, completely open, amazing restaurant. Now, to pull that off, this concrete building is going to switch at the very last minute from concrete to steel. So, Ali, why are we putting a steel column into an otherwise concrete building?
Our last slab in this building will be at level 350 meters.
So then how do you hang glass? How do you have that facade when you have no more slabs to hang on to?
That's why we are using this steel column.
Architects wanted the restaurant to feature a wall of unobstructed windows, but they had no way to support them. Typically, glass is hung at the edge of 2 floor slabs, but with only 1 slab and open space above, they had nowhere to hang the windows. Their solution? Build a massive 20-ton steel truss protruding 30 feet from the core wall that could hang the 17-story glass panels while not blocking the dramatic view of the Gulf. Today, the first of the truss support beams is being installed directly into the core wall. So the tower crane, perched over 1,300 feet in the air, has sent me down a present, 2 shackles. So now, we're going to attach these shackles to the top of the beam. We're going to do something kind of what we don't normally do. We're going to give you a beam cam. So we're going to rig this camera, get this on nice and tight, looking down the beam traveling about 1,200 feet in the air, spinning over Kuwait, coming over top. So, look set. What do you think? You want this turn a little bit this way? You think more up? What about this? What about like that? No?
Yeah.
It's good. This is good? We're happy? You want to turn a little bit? Wow. Everyone's a director, apparently. Yeah, I got Antonioni, Kubrick, and Spielberg here working with me to get this shot just right. We're there. We're recording. Okay, let's send her up. We're good. Let's do it. Let's go. Here it is. 4 tons of steel. So with the piece now up, we're going to get in the elevator and meet it at 1,100 feet in the air to wait for it to come into place. This steel lift begins the work on the crown never before attempted. Okay, so now I'm at the very last slab that's just been poured, and if you look over there, the column's made it up here. The next step is to get it up and over and inside the center core of the building. So the beam's going to come up and over.
Yeah.
And we'll fix it right on that plate right there.
Exactly in this place.
And it's this steel structure right here that will extend out all the way to the edge of the building.
Yes.
To support this 17-story open space, teams have to carefully weld this beam into place. It's coming around. It's coming around. It needs to carry the enormous load of 16 tons of glass. Okay, come on down. It's coming down. Keep it coming. Okay, stop there. There we go. 2, 1 inch, about a ½ inch. And we're touchdown. We're down. So as you can see, the column is now in its final location. Secondar is yelling. I've gotten 2 bolts in place, so it's more or less squared away. The next step, once Sendigar yells a little bit more, is that he's going to weld it in place and lock it in. He's not yelling, he's burning in his weld. Okay. Nicely done, well done. Thank you, man. Look at that. I lost some arm hair because of you. It's okay, it's fun. Between friends, burning is cool. Okay, are we done? The welding is done. Welding is done. The piece is set. The column looks good. This is one of the most important first steps to taking this incredible tower and crowning it not with a spire, but with an amazing, almost 200-foot tall open space that will give you a view of Kuwait like no other tower has ever done. Coming up, building a tower that can withstand a vicious desert sandstorm. But first, how much weight can the Al-Hamra Lobby's lamella structure safely support? The answer, after the break. The trivia answer, the Al-Hamra Lobby's lamella structure can safely carry up to 55,000 tons, which is more weight than the Titanic. Kuwait has some of the harshest weather on the planet. In addition to the oppressive heat, they also average 27 punishing sandstorms per year, with winds topping 50 miles an hour. It's critical that the Al-Hamra Tower can combat these winds. So, for example, at a building of this height, which we're talking about 1,350 feet tall, one of the tallest in the world.
Correct.
How will it be engaging the wind? I mean, how will this thing move?
Buildings do move backwards and forwards. Often they drift as much as maybe the height of the building divided by 500. So a building of this height could be moving as much as 3 feet backwards and forwards as the wind is blowing.
That much?
Yeah.
On your average rectangular-shaped building, the wind hits the facade as a united force. This generates a positive vortex on one side and a negative one on the other, causing the building to sway. One way to lessen that sway is to confuse the wind by changing the building's shape. For example, making it wider at the bottom and narrower at the top. Al-Hamra went a step further, twisting the entire facade, thereby not allowing the wind to organize and dramatically reducing the sway. So the somewhat, or the seemingly strange asymmetrical shape of the building actually benefits the building by calming down the impact of the wind.
Yeah, I mean, the geometry of the building is complex, and it gave us, of course, it gave us some challenges, but there were some advantages too, and that is one.
The same innovative shape that protects Al-Hamra from the wind also allows for something spectacular on the other side of the building. The Al-Hamra Tower is designed such that the south side of the building blocks the aggressive desert sun, But the north side of the building is the opposite. It's all about opening up the views to the incredible Persian Gulf. So if the south side of the building is wrapped in stone, the north side of the building is wrapped in 11,000 panels of this amazing glass. Wrapping curves in glass is difficult. Most skyscrapers use a technique called faceting. Small flat panels are aligned along a curve, but this only creates the illusion of a curve and not the real thing. At Alhambra, because the north face curves at such a large radius, they're able to do something that's rarely done. Here, you've actually curved the glass itself.
Yes, it's a curved glass itself, but due to big curvature, big radius, you can curve the glass. For a small curve, you cannot.
Right.
This is good. We have good chance because this is a big curvature, so we made it a curve.
To generate the gentle curve, 1/3 of the 11,000 panels have an 8-degree bend. And these panels are delivered daily to the installation floor via the tower crane. They come in 2 sections, because at 3 tons, the 6 panels are just too heavy to move altogether.
Whoa. I got one of those busted wheels like at the supermarket that goes like this. So with the glass panel now removed from the crane, we're gonna slide the puppy into position, put it up into a hoist, and literally push this piece of glass outside of the tower. Okay, here, good?
No, here. Over here.
Over here?
Yes, over here.
No, it's over here, fellas. What's going on? Fellas?
Crews have to be careful when pushing it out, because the surface is covered in a layer of silver oxide that gives the glass its reflective look, but also blocks solar radiation.
Let's lift her up. Oh my goodness. They're holding it at bottom with that rope, slowly easing it out until right there. So the panel is now down, but the one obvious problem is the panel is looking in at us, right? This is the facade of the building, so we gotta flip it. And you can see from here, although it's subtle, you can see that curve. Keep it tight. Oh, look at that. As I tighten this last screw in, you really see what I mean about this being a real curve of the building. Look at this thing. One smooth, long, beautiful line. And you can imagine why. Sitting in your office, looking out from this glass at that. This building is made for this site.
Installers use 100 panels per floor to cover Alhambra's curved facade. But the challenge comes when the glass panels have to join with the twisting concrete flared walls.
So the trick is, how do the two come together? So today, you're gonna see how the curving glass wall of the building meets up with the twisting concrete wall of the building, and quite literally, fills the gap.
Aluminum flashing is used to fill the gap, drawing a thin line up the curve of the wall, blending old world stone to modern sleek glass.
Hello,
Come with.
I'm Danny.
Yeah,
How are you?
fine, thank you.
What's your name?
My name's Miss.
Smith?
Yes.
Have you looked down there, Smith? There's nothing there.
Yeah, I suggest you should look straight and look up, and don't look down.
Yeah.
It makes you scared.
That's your suggestion. That's a good suggestion. All right, Smith, I'm coming aboard.
Okay.
Oh, that's bad. You know, what makes this job especially difficult is that if this were a normal building, putting on this metal piece we're going to apply would be the same on every single floor. You just pull the gondola up and do your work. But because the flaring wall travels along the full length of the building, every single floor we do this job, we have to move the gondola horizontally. How did you pick your American name, Smith? I mean, how did you decide that?
So I think I like Will Smith so much. It's to my favorite, so I choose his name as my English name.
So you saw Will Smith movies and you loved them?
Sure, I love him.
What was your favorite Will Smith movie?
Black Man.
Men in Black.
Yeah, Man in Black.
Yeah.
1 or 2?
Both.
Both, yeah.
Okay. So this is it. This 6-foot-tall L-shaped piece of aluminum is the flashing that's going to take us from glass, turn the corner to meet the concrete. Myself and what's your name?
Shung.
Shung? Myself and Shung are going to make it happen. All right, Shung, you and me. Ready? Let's not drop this. Oh my God.
And the job is made harder
Okay.
thanks to the tight working quarters
Shung's on my foot.
and the wall's twisting shape. To ensure a seamless curve the entire length of the building, They have to first get the bottom in place and then adjust the top.
So Shun's getting the screws in place, then I'm coming over top, the screwdriver, and lock them in. Oh, Shun is fighting me. Ah, we got it in.
So it's finished?
We are finished. That's it. It's the end of the scene. Something blew up. Will Smith got the girl. Martin Lawrence made a couple of jokes. But in the end, this piece of flashing is lined up. The glass is meant to concrete. And this amazing twist is now rendered in steel. Smith, I love it, baby.
I love you too.
Coming up, getting people a quarter of a mile above Kuwait with one of the largest and fastest elevator motors in the world. The iconic Al Hamra Tower is attempting to change the way skyscrapers are built around the world. With its incredible twisting shape and 17-story glass restaurant topping it all off.
The platforms that you will be standing will be cantilevering from the wall, so you'll be like on Grand Canyon, suspended in the air, looking out.
Right.
And it will just be phenomenal.
I mean, there really isn't a space atop a super tall building in the world that has something like this.
Exactly.
Expecting 4,000 daily visitors to this one-of-a-kind space, Al Hamra will have 41 elevators, equipped with some of the largest and fastest motors in the world, weighing 15 tons and capable of hauling 40 people at speeds of 22 miles an hour. When complete, you'll travel a quarter of a mile to the top of the building in under a minute.
Pull that off. This enormous motor, one of the biggest in the world, has to go from this flatbed truck down here to the top of that building.
In most skyscraper construction, builders use tower cranes to lift the motors up and over the building and down into the shaft. But at Al Hamra, this wasn't an option. It would take them nearly a month of crane lifts to get all 41 motors into place, delaying key work at the top. Rather than use cranes, they've invented the world's first cart capable of carrying 20 tons.
It's coming right down, right in the lobby of the building, onto this specially made moving platform, which they built just to move this one massive elevator motor from here to the elevator shaft where we're going to hoist it up. We've got slack in the cables, meaning the weight has been transferred. This massive, over 15-ton elevator motor is sitting happily on this moving platform right here.
This innovative platform can carry 30 times the weight of a pickup truck, and today is its maiden voyage.
Hang on, this thing looks basically like what I had when I was delivering newspapers as a kid. This is the bicycle, this changes the gears, and this is the bell. You just need a couple of streamers and I'll be ready to go. You put those on.
Driving the cart is actually quite complicated. It has two motors, one controlling each side. And if it doesn't move precisely, the $200,000 elevator motor could fall off the cart.
The floor is slightly uneven, right? Then you get the load shifting to one wheel only and you lose traction on the other.
So that's why you gotta a little forward, a little backwards, and start pushing back and forth. You okay? No? Okay, so the issue is the obstruction above us is 3 meters high, a little over 9 feet. The question is, how tall is the motor? 3 meters, 5 centimeters. Well, we're 5 centimeters too tall to fit through that. And as the motor passes under the obstruction, try and push the cables up and get enough clearance. 3 guys, 1 push, and we're in the clear.
This is the first of 41 journeys this cart is going to make, delivering the motors right to the elevator shaft, where they'll ultimately be hoisted into place.
Good show, guys. Round of applause. Very nice. There you have it. Maiden voyage. Took this thing over 15 tons from that side of the lobby, around the corner, under some obstructions, and now finally, it's in the elevator shaft, ready to get lifted.
In about a year, Al Hamra's elevator core will be bustling with activity, shuttling passengers across 77 floors in record time. But before that can happen, crews have to finish the core at the top of the building. This rebar cage is extending the core another 15 feet.
So the rebar cage has now reached the very top of the tower above the core wall, and I'm now headed up for them to lower it down into place.
This rebar cage is critical to supporting the concrete walls that house the elevators and hold up the building's incredible crown.
Coming down, yep. We're gonna interlock this cage right with the extended rebar below me. Slowly, you gotta angle a little bit on your side, guys. Having this new rebar cage wrapped on top of this existing rebar from the existing core wall, that's how you get one continuous wall that's fused from one floor to the next. Well, she is now down, and we just took this tower from 1,150 feet to 1,165.
When the tower is complete, it'll represent the moment that Kuwait emerged from nearly 2 decades of fear and started to build again.
We build for generations to come. We do hope that our building marks the beginning of the development of Kuwait. We don't only look at our project, we look at the entire community around us.
With the entire community of Kuwait rapidly changing, this tower is the cornerstone.
Skyscrapers are a truly fascinating building type. On the one hand, they're totally private buildings, accessible only to people who rent space inside of them. But on the flip side, they are completely public monuments that can symbolize a city and define the skyline for everyone to see. At the end of the day, building a super tall tower is hard, but the real challenge is making it a great piece of architecture. And what I think is so great is how well the Alhambra Tower functions as both. As a feat of engineering, it stands tall, shoulder to shoulder, with some of the best towers ever designed. As a piece of Middle Eastern architecture, it responds directly to the site from which it's built.